What up, it's Casper. Today's video I'm going to be talking about the movie Buried. Movie Buried is a 2010 film. It's a rated R and it's an hour and 35 minutes. Directed by Rodrigo Cortés. So in this movie we got Ryan Reynolds. He plays the character Paul Conroy. We end up seeing him trapped in a box, which is a wooden coffin. The character Paul is a US truck driver and he is delivering supplies to Iraq. We end up in the movie finding out that during this trip to deliver supplies to Iraq, the last thing he can recall is his truck and other people getting ambushed and him getting hit by a rock. So that's the last thing he remembers. So now Ryan Reynolds, aka Paul, is in a box trying his best to get out and trying his best to go through these obstacles, meaning dealing with his anxiety, dealing with the supplies he has in the box, which he only has a lighter, a phone, and a couple other things as well. Barely any water. I don't even know if that was water, but either or, he has minimal supplies in this coffin and very small space. Paul is trying his best to get out of this box and he has no idea how he got there. And with the phone that he has, he's trying to make phone calls to anybody that he can, even FBI, his wife back in his hometown of Michigan. So that's what the movie is about. Paul, he is on the clock to get out of this box because he has no air. His anxiety is building up and this dude is stressing out literally because he knows he's about to die if he does not get out of this box as soon as possible. I haven't really seen too many Ryan Reynolds movies. It's ironic that his new movie Deadpool is coming out, so I'm gonna try my best to catch that. So the fact that this was on my watch list to watch, I'm like, yo, let's knock it out before I even watch and continue these Deadpool movies. I don't want to just know his acting for those type of movies. I really enjoyed how the movie started because we really just dive into what situation he's in. He's literally in the box. I thought this movie was just gonna be, okay, here's the beginning, and then we're gonna see moments and scenarios leading up to him in that box. It was actually the opposite. This whole movie is actually in the box the whole time. I don't know how a lot of people would react to just seeing someone in a box struggling for air, yelling. Dude is literally losing his mind in the box. So that can bring additional stress, I would say, or maybe just an additional claustrophobic vibes to the viewer. For me, to be honest, I was more intrigued about the fact that the camera angles and the framing of everything that they did was very unique. Acting by Ryan Reynolds was surprising in this movie. This dude really put out emotions and scenarios where he's trying his best to keep calm but not flip out as much as possible because he knows he's losing air. The fact that this movie literally stayed in that scenario the whole time, it wasn't really a bother for me, knowing that we didn't have to jump to other settings, other places to see what other people are doing. For me, there is a couple moments as well that had anxiety moments, but I think it's just the fact that Ryan Reynolds put out a really good performance on understanding that that's a stressful situation. It's literally a nightmare. Good acting by Ryan Reynolds, and a surprising one as well. Scenarios in this movie where he's on the phone with people back in the US, and there's scenarios in this movie where he's dealing with people in Iraq. So I'm guessing the people who captured him. Interaction just on the phone was really good. You could feel what this guy's going through. Like, he has no patience at all. So very believable scenarios, very believable emotions. Watching from a viewer, you're like, oh, could someone just help him? Really good pacing with understanding and a good build-up with his acting. Another thing that I enjoyed from this movie is the camera angles. Wasn't something that you're like, oh, they're using an extra light or they're using an extra special effect. Like I said before, you might get a claustrophobic vibe or an anxiety vibe watching this movie. This movie is, I would say, definitely for a mature, older audience. So if you're having kids around, hopefully it entertains them, but the fact that it doesn't move as much, you know, that might be the slow burner for kids. It showed a lot of different angles that I didn't expect that were gonna actually happen. Creativity with the camera angles was there. Close shots to Ryan Reynolds' face to show his eyes just literally in shock, show like how much he's sweating, see the blood as well that he dealt with. Grimy moments in this movie, especially with those camera angles that you see that he has to get put through. See that the pressure was literally on Paul. Very surprised with the camera angles. There's a scene in this movie where randomly you see a snake come out. The fact that he has to deal with a snake in this box is, one, insane, And second, the fact that we're able to see what the snake is doing in that box for the limited time that we see it, very shocking and very cool to see something different. Camera angles really showed his emotions as well. Obviously, there's a lot of angles in this movie that are close-up shots because you are stuck in a box. Then the camera angles get creative by showing literally far away shots on seeing how dead he knows he is and just the confused look that he has. I think the camera angles in this movie did it justice, especially with Ryan Reynolds acting. The surrounding actors that he's on the phone with, the fact that we don't see them, I think that's good. The voice for them and the lines for them, well done, and it did fit the vibe. None of the lines in this movie seemed corny. None of the lines in here seemed like that wasn't a realistic thing. The fact that he's talking to different people in this movie, you can see where everyone is in their own space, especially not being in that box. The runtime for this movie, good enough time to show what he's dealing with. Did not feel like it was a drag. Very grimy that this character Paul is going through that, and you kind of feel for him, especially at the last part of the movie. The music score in the back for this movie just added to what Ryan Reynolds' character is dealing with, emphasizing being scared, emphasized on stress, emphasized on just claustrophobic vibes from him, and emphasized on his anxiety that he's dealing with. So the music score in the back, well done. It wasn't something that you're like, wow, why is this music so loud? I would probably add a little bit more moments on seeing maybe flashback scenes to what Ryan Reynolds actually dealt with, because in the movie he explains the last moments he remembers, but it would be nice to actually step out of the box, maybe for the flashback or memory scenes that he tries to remember. But overall, everything made sense in this movie. Overall, the acting is very presentable, and the fact that he's in the box, you just feel what this character is going through. So after my watching the movie Buried out of 10, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 8 out of 10. So that's my movie review for the movie Buried. Shout out to you guys for tuning into the video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, y'all.